Hi, my name is Dan Donegan, otherwise known as Milk. I was on RuPaul's Drag Race season 6. Um, so I'm a gay man and I'm also a drag queen, so there were sort of two coming outs for me. I grew up in a religious family and I went to Catholic school and did that whole shebang. And I, I always knew I was different. I liked figure skating when all the other boys didn't. I hated basketball when all the other boys liked it. The first person I came out to in my family was my mom. And I had an idea that I didn't want to come out to anybody until I was in a relationship, because I was fearful that that people would be like, "Oh, it's just a phase," if I wasn't dating anybody. But having somebody to be with was more of a substantial thing for me. So I waited until I was dating this guy, James. We started dating in 2008, and we still date to this day. Oh my god. And so James wanted to buy me the very first iPhone. I know, it was that long ago. The very first iPhone for my birthday. And so he was like, "Dan, just ask your parents if you can still stay on the family plan with this new iPhone and whatever." And I knew that by asking this, that somebody was getting me an iPhone, that my mom would be like, "Who the fuck this? Who the hell is getting you this iPhone?" And so I pick up the phone and call her, and I'm like, "Hey mom," blah blah blah, talk about whatever. And I'm like, "Well, one of my friends really wants to give me an iPhone for my birthday, and I just want to make sure that I can still stay on the family plan." And she doesn't even talk about like the family plan. She's like, "Whoa, an iPhone? Well, that's an expensive gift. Who's this friend? Who is it?" And I was like, "Oh, my friend James." And she's like, "Oh, Jane. Who's Jane? I've never heard you talk about her before." And I was just like, "Yeah, no, James. Like my brother's name, but it's a guy." And she was just like, "Oh." She realized it immediately. And she was like, "Oh, okay, well, we'll talk about it later. Okay, bye." And then she hung up. And then 5 minutes later she called, and I was like, "Okay, this is gonna be the call. This is it." And so I answered, and she's like, "So, I always assumed you liked girls, but that's not right, is it?" And obviously in my judgmental head, I'm like, what would ever give you that idea? Like, because I was a figure skater, because I never had a girlfriend, because whatever. Just all of these things up against me. My first valued cassette tape was Andrew Lloyd Webber's Greatest Hits. Like, excuse me. And she said, "Well, is this James an important person in your life?" And I said, "Yeah, he very much is." And she's like, "All right, well, let's not tell anybody else right now. Let's just like figure this out." Like figure it out. I don't know what that meant, but she just needed time to process. And so that was okay. I felt very grateful that went well. And then I didn't come out to my dad until about 2 years later. And my dad and I have never had a very close relationship. It's very much, we were very quiet to each other. And so I didn't know how I was going to come out to him, and he was on a business trip. And my mom said, "Why don't you email him?" And I was like, "Okay." And so I emailed him just this long, like, "This is who I am, whatever, whatever." And my father sent back the most beautiful, like, beautifully written email that has ever existed. It was so heartfelt and just out of this world amazing, and words that I had never heard him say before. And on this on this past Father's Day, no, I'm good. I'm good. On this past Father's Day, I screenshotted the email and I posted it on Instagram, and just to share like that acceptance in family is possible if you allow yourself to, come out and just be your true self. And so, yeah, I mean, my dad is an amazing man. I mean, we still we're still not like super open and chatty about things, but that definitely was a great, it was a great moment in my coming out story.